Iron-armored ships during the Civil War changed naval vessels forever. 4 vessels during the Civil War that represented the vessels of the time were the USS Monitor, the USS Merrimack, also known as the CSS Virginia, USS Constitution, and the USS Kearsarge. 2 iron-armored vessels, 1 steam sloop of war, and 1 tall ship. The USS Monitor was an iron-hulled steamship built during the American Civil War. It was the first ironclad warship commissioned by the United States Navy. USS Monitor is most famous for her central role in the Battle of Hampton Roads on March 9, 1862, where she fought the ironclad CSS Virginia to a standoff. The unique design of the ship and its revolving turret was quickly duplicated and established the Monitor type of warship. The USS Merrimack was a frigate and best known as the hull upon which the ironclad warship CSS Virginia was constructed during the Civil War. The CSS Virginia then took part in the Battle of Hampton Roads, also known as the Battle of the Monitor and the Merrimack, and the first engagement between ironclad warships. The Merrimack was the first of 6 screw frigates. The frigates were steam-powered. Beginning in 1854, these screw frigates were all named after a river: the Wabash, Roanoke, Niagara, Minnesota, and Colorado. The USS Constitution was a wooden-hulled, 3-mast heavy frigate of the United States Navy. The USS Constitution was named by President George Washington after the Constitution of the United States of America. Launched in 1797, the USS Constitution was one of the 6 original frigates authorized for construction by the Naval Act of 1794. The USS Constitution and her sister ships, the United States, Constellation, Chesapeake, Congress, and President, were larger and more heavily armed and built than standard frigates of the period. The USS Kearsarge was a steam sloop of war. It was best known for her defeat of the Confederate raider vessel, the CSS Alabama, during the Civil War. She won the battle against the CSS Alabama because she had iron chain plating around her engines. This allowed her to last longer in battle. The evolution of the naval vessels of the time started with the tall ships, then the steam sloop of war, and finally the steam ironclad vessels. The USS Constitution was a 44-gun frigate tall ship built in 1797. She had a crew of 450, including 55 Marines and 30 boys. She was 304 feet long and 43.5 feet wide. She had 3 masts and could sail at 15 miles per hour. She had 13 24-pounders long guns, 20 32-pounder carronades, and 2 24-pounder bow chasers. Tall ships of this time required a lot of people to keep her moving and fighting. The USS Kearsarge was built under the 1861 American Civil War Emergency Shipbuilding Program. The 201-foot steam sloop of war was launched on September 11, 1861. She had a crew of 145 officers and men. She was 33 feet wide and drew 14 feet of water. She had 3 masts, 1 steam engine, and she could steam at 13 miles per hour. She had 2 11-inch smoothbore Dallingen guns, 4 32-pounder guns, and 1 30-pounder Parrott rifle. These types of vessels took less than half the crew as the tall ship to run and were effective at war. The USS Merrimack was an ironclad frigate built in 1862. She was 275 feet long and 38.5 feet wide. She had 2 horizontal stroke steam engines that only could push her at 6 miles per hour for 150 miles. She had a crew of 320 officers and men. She had quite a bit of firepower with 2 7-inch rifles, 2 6.4-inch 32-pounder rifles, 6 9-inch Dallingen smoothbore cannons, and 2 12-pounder deck howitzers. The USS Monitor was an iron-hulled steamship built in 1862. and had a crew of 59. She was smaller at 179 feet long and 41.6 feet wide. She had one vibrating level steam truck engine that could push her faster and further than the Merrimack at 7 miles per hour for 200 miles. She had two 28mm Dallinger smoothbore cannons and a rotating turret. The Merrimack and Monitor were both iron-armored vessels that were built for taking multiple hits during a battle. The Battle of Hampton Roads, often referred to either as the Battle of the Monitor and Merrimack or the Battle of Ironclads. This battle was the most important naval battle of the American Civil War. When it came to the development of navies, it was fought over 2 days, March 8th and March 9th, 1862, in Hampton Roads, Virginia. The battle occurred where the Elizabeth and Namason River meets the James River, just before it enters the Chesapeake Bay, adjacent to the city of Norfolk. The battle was a part of the effort of the Confederacy to break the Union blockade, which had cut off Virginia's largest city, Norfolk and Richmond, from international trade. The major significance of the battle is that it was the first meeting in combat of ironclad warships. The Confederate fleet consisted of the ironclad CSS Virginia and several supporting vessels. On the first day of the battle, they were opposed by several wooden-hulled ships. On that day, Virginia was able to destroy two ships, the USS Congress and the USS Cumberland, and was about to attack the third, the USS Minnesota, which had run aground. However, the action halted by night and falling tides. Determined to complete the destruction of the USS Minnesota, the CSS Virginia returned the next morning, March 9th. During the night, however, the ironclad USS Monitor had arrived and had taken position to defend the Minnesota. When the Virginia approached, the Monitor intercepted her. The two ironclads fought for about 3 hours, which neither being able to inflict significant damage on each other. The duel ended indecisively. Virginia returning to her home, the ships did not fight again, and the blockade remained in place. The battle revealed worldwide attention, and had immediately affected other navies around the world. The naval powers of Great Britain and France halted further construction of wooden-hulled ships, and others followed suit. A new type of warship was produced, the Monitor, based on the principle of the original. The use of a small number of very heavy guns, mounted so that they could fire in all directions, was first demonstrated by the USS Monitor, but soon became standard warships of all types. Shipbuilders also incorporated rams into the designs of warship hulls for the rest of the century.